Welcome to Tales by Felix, where every story unlocks a new world. Remember to subscribe, like and share. Let's begin. The morning sun spilled through the wide windows of the sweet spot, Elara Voss's artisanal bakery in the heart of Willow Creek. The air was thick with the scent of warm vanilla, fresh-baked bread, and a hint of cinnamon. Elara, a petite woman with flour-dusted auburn hair tied in a messy bun, moved with purpose behind the counter. Her hands, nimble and practiced, shaped dough into perfect croissants, her mind humming with ideas for her next big creation, a lavender honey cake for the town's upcoming food festival. At 32, Elara had built the sweet spot from nothing. She'd grown up in a small apartment above a laundromat, where her mother taught her to bake with whatever ingredients they could afford. Those lessons became her passion, and now her bakery was the pride of Willow Creek. Customers lined up before dawn for her signature raspberry tarts and custom wedding cakes that looked like edible art. Her life wasn't glamorous, but it was hers, and she loved every second of it. Today, the bakery buzzed with its usual morning rush. Regulars like Mrs. Delaney, a retired librarian, chatted with Elara as she handed over a box of lemon scones. "You're a magician, Elara," Mrs. Delaney said, her eyes twinkling. "These scones make my mornings bearable." Elara laughed, brushing flour off her apron. "You're too kind, Mrs. D. Want to try my new chai-spiced muffin? On the house." Mrs. Delaney's grin widened. "You're gonna make me fat, but I'm not complaining." As the morning crowd thinned, Elara's assistant, Mia, a bubbly college student, leaned against the counter. "You ever gonna take a break, boss? You're here before the sun and after it sets." Elara smirked, wiping down the counter. "Breaks are for people who don't love their work. Besides, the festival's coming up. That cake's gotta be perfect." Mia rolled her eyes playfully. "You're obsessed. But I get it. The sweet spot's your baby." "More than that," Elara said softly, her gaze drifting to the framed photo on the wall, a faded picture of her and her mom, smiling over a lopsided birthday cake. "It's my dream." The bell above the door jingled, snapping Elara back to reality. A man stepped in, his paint-splattered jeans and tousled dark hair standing out against the bakery's pastel decor. He carried a canvas under one arm, his eyes scanning the room nervously. Elara felt a spark of curiosity. He wasn't a regular. "Welcome to the sweet spot," she called, flashing a warm smile. "What can I get you?" The man hesitated, then approached the counter. Just a coffee. Black. And maybe one of those tarts." His voice was soft, almost shy, but his green eyes held a quiet intensity. "Sure thing," Elara said, grabbing a raspberry tart. "You're not from around here, are you?" He shook his head, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Just passing through. I'm Kale Marrow." "Elara Voss," she replied, handing him the tart. "What's with the canvas? You an artist?" Kale's cheeks flushed. "Trying to be. Not much luck selling, though." Elara glanced at the canvas, catching a glimpse of vibrant colors. "Mind if I see?" He hesitated, then propped the canvas on a chair. It was a striking painting of Willow Creek's river at dusk, all bold strokes and glowing hues. Elara's breath caught. "This is incredible, Kale. You've got serious talent." He shrugged, but his eyes lit up. "Thanks. Means a lot." As he left with his coffee and tart, Elara felt a strange pull. Something about Kale stuck with her, like a melody she couldn't shake. The Willow Creek Farmers Market was a kaleidoscope of colors and sounds, vendors hawking fresh produce, kids chasing balloons, and musicians strumming folk tunes. Elara had a small booth for the sweet spot, her table piled high with mini cupcakes and cookies. The festival was a week away, and she was testing new flavors, handing out samples to curious passers-by. She spotted Kale across the market, standing by a rickety table covered with his paintings. His shoulders were slumped, and his booth was nearly deserted. Elara's heart tugged. She knew that look, dreams on the line, hope fading fast. "Hold the fort, Mia," Elara said, grabbing a tray of lavender shortbread. She weaved through the crowd and stopped at Kale's booth. "Hey, artist guy. Hungry?" Kale looked up, startled, then grinned. "You stalking me, Elara?" "Only if shortbread's a crime," she teased, offering him a cookie. "How's business?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. Lousy. People walk by, say nice things, but no one's buying. Elara studied his paintings, vivid landscapes, soulful portraits, each one bursting with life. They're missing out. These are amazing. She paused, an idea forming. You ever think about selling at the food festival? Tons of people, lots of wallets. Cale chuckled, but it was hollow. Can't afford the booth fee. Barely scraped together enough for this one. Elara bit her lip, then blurted, What if I helped? You could set up next to my bakery's booth. No fee, just bring your art. His eyes widened. You serious? Why would you do that? She shrugged, feeling a flush creep up her cheeks. You've got talent. Someone's got to give you a shot. Cale stared at her, something softening in his gaze. You're different, Elara. Thanks. The festival day arrived, and Cale's paintings drew a crowd to their shared corner. Elara watched him light up as people praised his work, some even buying pieces. Between selling her pastries and cheering him on, she felt a connection growing. They bantered easily, laughing over spilled icing and bad customer pickup lines. You're good at this, Cale said as they packed up, the sun dipping low. Making people feel seen. Elara smiled, her heart skipping. You're not so bad yourself. Sold 3 paintings today, didn't you? He grinned, boyish and bright. Yeah, thanks to you. Can I buy you a drink to say thanks? She hesitated, then nodded. Only if it's coffee. I'm a baker, not a bartender. At the cozy diner down the street, they talked for hours, about her bakery dreams, his love for art, and the little moments that shaped them. Cale's passion was infectious, his stories of painting under starlight making Elara's chest ache with something new. You ever think about what's next? She asked, stirring her coffee. Like bigger dreams? Cale leaned forward, his voice low. I want my art to mean something. To make people feel. But it's hard when you're broke and no one cares. I care, Elara said quietly, meeting his eyes. And I bet others will too. He reached across the table, his hand brushing hers. You're kinda incredible, you know that? Elara's cheeks burned, but she didn't pull away. For the first time in years, she felt like her world was about to get a little bigger. Months passed, and Cale became a fixture at the sweet spot. Elara hired him for deliveries, his old van rattling through Willow Creek with boxes of her pastries. But it was more than work. They'd steal moments between orders, Cale sketching her while she kneaded dough, Elara sneaking him fresh muffins with silly notes tucked inside. Their chemistry was undeniable, a slow burn that warmed every corner of her life. One rainy afternoon, as they unloaded a delivery in the bakery's backroom, Cale grabbed her hand. Elara, I gotta say something. You've changed everything for me. My art's selling because of you. I'm falling for you. Her heart raced, but she played it cool. Took you long enough to admit it, artist guy. He laughed, pulling her close. Their first kiss was soft, sweet, and tasted faintly of sugar. From that moment, they were inseparable. Elara believed in Cale's talent. She used her savings to rent him a small studio downtown, a cramped space with good light. She promoted his work on the Sweet Spot's social media, and soon, local galleries took notice. Cale's paintings started selling faster, his confidence growing with every sale. One evening, under a sky streaked with pink and gold, Cale proposed in the bakery's tiny garden. He'd painted a small canvas of them together, holding it up as he knelt. Elara, you're my muse, my home. Marry me. Tears stung her eyes as she nodded. Yes, Cale. 1,000 times yes. Their wedding was simple but perfect, held in the bakery with fairy lights and her best cakes. Friends and customers filled the room, toasting their love. Elara felt like she was floating, her dreams intertwining with Cale's in a way she'd never imagined. You happy? Cale whispered as they danced, his arms warm around her. Happier than I've ever been, she said, resting her head on his chest. But as they swayed, Elara noticed 3 figures in the corner. Cale's mother, Vivian, and his sisters, Lila and Nora. Their smiles were tight, their eyes sharp. Elara brushed it off, chalking it up to wedding nerves. She didn't know then that those glances held a storm waiting to break. Married life started sweet, like one of Elara's cakes. She and Kale moved into a cozy apartment above the sweet spot, their days filled with laughter and shared dreams. But the shadow of Kale's family loomed larger with each passing week. Vivian, Kale's mother, was a tall woman with a voice that could cut glass. She'd drop by unannounced, her designer purse swinging as she inspected the bakery like a health inspector. "This place is quaint," she'd say, the word dripping with disdain. "Kale could have done better than a baker." Elara gritted her teeth, keeping her smile polite. "We're doing fine, Vivian. The sweet spot's growing." Vivian's lips pursed. "For now. Businesses like this don't last." Lila and Nora, Kale's sisters, were worse. They'd lounge in the bakery, eating free pastries and complaining. "These are too sweet," Lila said one day, spitting out a bite of Elara's signature tart. "You should hire a real chef." Elara's patience frayed, but she held her tongue for Kale's sake. He'd shrug off their behavior, saying, "They're just jealous. Ignore them." But ignoring them got harder when they started asking for money. Vivian needed a loan for a new car. Lila wanted cash for a trip. Nora claimed she was between jobs. Elara's savings, already stretched from helping Kale's art career, dwindled. She worked longer hours, baking late into the night to keep the bakery afloat. One evening, Elara found Kale on the phone with Vivian, his voice tense. "Ma, I can't keep asking Elara for money. It's her business." Vivian's voice crackled through the speaker. "She's your wife, Kale. What's hers is yours. Don't let her hold you back." Elara's stomach twisted. She waited until he hung up, then said, "Kale, we need to talk about your family. They're draining us." He sighed, rubbing his temples. "I know. I'll handle it, okay? I promise." But he didn't. The demands kept coming, and Elara felt like she was fighting a losing battle. Still, she loved Kale. She believed in their future, even as cracks started to show. The change in Kale was gradual, like dough left too long to rise. The man who once sketched her with adoration now snapped at her over small things: burnt cookies, a late delivery, her obsession with the bakery. Elara tried to reach him, but his warmth had turned to ice. One night, as she closed up the bakery, Kale stormed in, his face dark. "You didn't tell me you turned down a catering job for the mayor's gala," he said, voice sharp. Elara frowned, wiping her hands on her apron. "It was too short notice, Kale. I couldn't handle it with the festival prep." "You're always making excuses," he shot back. "My mom's right, you're too focused on this place." "What about me? My art?" Her heart sank. "I've given everything to support you, Kale. The studio, the promotions, how can you say that?" He scoffed, turning away. "Maybe you're not as supportive as you think." The words stung, but worse was the silence that followed. Kale spent more time with his family, coming home late with excuses that didn't add up. Elara felt him slipping away, and the bakery, once her sanctuary, felt like a weight. Then came the news that changed everything. Elara was pregnant. She found out on a quiet morning, staring at the test in the bakery's tiny bathroom. Joy flooded her, a bright spot in the growing darkness. She couldn't wait to tell Kale, imagining his face lighting up, their love rekindled by this new life. She planned a special dinner, baking his favorite chocolate torte. When he walked in, she took his hands, her voice trembling with hope. "Kale, I'm pregnant. We're going to have a baby." His face froze. No smile, no warmth. Just a curt nod. "That's unexpected." Elara's smile faltered. "Unexpected. Kale, this is our child. Aren't you happy?" He pulled his hands away, avoiding her eyes. "I need time to process this, okay? It's a lot." She watched him walk out, the torte untouched on the table. Tears pricked her eyes as she whispered to her unborn child, "It's okay, little one. I've got you." But the doubt crept in, cold and heavy. Kale's distance, his family's grip, the pressure on her business, it was all closing in. Elara didn't know it yet, but the worst was yet to come, and a stranger in the shadows was watching, ready to change her fate. Elara stood in the dim light of the Sweet Spot's kitchen, her hand resting on her still flat stomach. The joy of her pregnancy felt like a fragile flame, flickering against the cold distance Kale had shown since her announcement. She'd hoped the news would pull him back, rekindle the spark they'd lost, but his reaction, those flat, resentful words, haunted her. "I need time to process this." What kind of father-to-be needed time to process joy? The bakery was quiet, the last customers gone. Elara kneaded dough for tomorrow's bread, her hands moving on autopilot. Mia, tidying the front counter, glanced over. "You okay, boss? You've been quiet all day." Elara forced a smile. "Just tired. Festival prep's kicking my butt." Mia frowned, unconvinced. "It's more than that. Is it Kale? He's been weird lately." Elara sighed, wiping her hands on her apron. "He's under pressure. His family's been leaning on him hard. On us." Mia snorted. "Those leeches. They're always here, eating your profits." "You're too nice, Elara." "Maybe," Elara admitted, her voice soft. "But I love him. And we're having a baby. That's gotta mean something, right?" Mia's eyes softened. "It does. You're gonna be an amazing mom. Just don't let him dim your shine." That night, Elara tried to talk to Kale. He was sprawled on their couch, sketching half-heartedly. "Kale," she started, sitting beside him, "can we talk about the baby? I want us to plan, to be excited together." He didn't look up. "What's there to plan? You're handling it, aren't you?" Her chest tightened. "I shouldn't have to handle it alone. This is our family." He tossed his sketchpad down, his voice sharp. "Family? You mean your bakery? That's all you care about, Elara." The words cut deep. "That's not fair. The bakery's keeping us afloat. Your family's demands." "Don't bring them into this," he snapped, standing. "You're always blaming them." Elara's eyes stung, but she held her ground. "I'm not blaming. I'm asking you to be here. For me. For our child." He stormed out, muttering about needing space. Alone, Elara curled up on the couch, her hand on her stomach. "We'll be okay," she whispered to her baby, but doubt gnawed at her. Was Kale slipping away for good? The Willow Creek Food Festival was a whirlwind of colors, smells, and laughter. Elara's booth for the sweet spot was a hit, her lavender honey cake drawing crowds. She'd poured her heart into it, a towering creation of delicate layers and edible flowers, hoping it would win the festival's top prize. Despite the strain with Kale, today felt like a chance to shine. Kale was there, setting up his art display nearby. He'd been distant all morning, barely speaking as they set up. Elara tried to focus on her customers, smiling as they raved about her cake. "This is divine," one woman gushed, snapping photos. Elara's heart swelled. Maybe things would turn around. Then she saw them, Vivian, Lila, and Nora, striding through the crowd like they owned the place. Vivian's eyes narrowed as she approached Elara's booth. "So, this is your little project," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "Cute." Elara clenched her jaw. "Thanks for stopping by, Vivian. Try a sample." Vivian waved a hand. "I don't eat sugar. Bad for the skin." Lila smirked, grabbing a cupcake and tossing it to Nora. "Let's see if it's any good." They laughed, crumbs falling as they took careless bites. Elara's cheeks burned, but she kept her cool. The crowd was growing, and the judges were about to announce the winners. She glanced at Kale, hoping for support, but he was staring at the ground, his shoulders tense. The announcer's voice boomed, naming Elara's cake as a finalist. Cheers erupted, and she beamed, her heart racing. But before she could step forward, Vivian's voice cut through the noise. "Kale, tell them. Now's the time." Elara froze. Kale stepped forward, his face pale but hard. The crowd quieted, sensing drama. I need to say something," he stammered, his voice carrying over the speakers. "Elara's pregnant. But I don't think the baby's mine." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Elara's world tilted. "What?" she whispered, her voice breaking. "Kale, how could you?" "I've seen how you act," he continued, egged on by Vivian's nod. "Flirting with customers, staying late. I don't trust you." The crowd murmured, phones raised to capture the scene. Elara's legs shook, her hands clutching the booth for support. "That's a lie," she said, tears streaming down her face. "You know it's yours." Vivian stepped forward, smirking. "Don't play innocent, dear. We all see through you." Humiliation burned through Elara as the crowd whispered and stared. She wanted to scream, to run, but her feet were rooted. Her dream, her love, her future, all shattered in front of hundreds. Among the gawking crowd stood Mr. Adrian Sterling, a reclusive tech billionaire known for his love of fine pastries. At 55, with silver-streaked hair and sharp blue eyes, he cut an unassuming figure in his plain jacket and jeans. He'd come to the festival specifically for Elara's creations, having followed the sweet spot's rise online. Her lavender honey cake was a masterpiece, but now he couldn't tear his eyes from her tear-streaked face. Sterling's jaw tightened as Cale's accusation echoed. He saw the pain in Elara's eyes, the way her hands trembled as she gripped the booth. It hit him like a punch, memories of his mother, decades ago, facing similar public betrayal. She'd been accused, abandoned, left to raise him alone. Elara's raw vulnerability was a mirror to that pain, and Sterling felt a surge of protective anger. He stayed back, blending into the crowd, but his mind was racing. He'd built a fortune from nothing, his tech empire spanning continents, but wealth hadn't erased the scars of his past. Seeing Elara's world crumble stirred something deep, a need to act, to right a wrong he couldn't fix for his mother. As the crowd dispersed, whispering about the scandal, Sterling lingered. He watched Elara pack up her booth, her movements mechanical, her face blank with shock. Cale and his family had already left, their damage done. Sterling pulled out his phone and texted his assistant, Clara. "Find out everything about Elara Voss and her bakery. Discreetly." Clara's reply was instant. "On it, sir. Anything else? Get me her financials. And a list of the best family lawyers in the area." Sterling slipped away, his heart heavy but resolute. Elara didn't know it, but she wasn't alone anymore. Back in his sleek penthouse, Adrian Sterling sat at his desk, a glass of bourbon untouched beside him. Clara had delivered a preliminary report on Elara, and the details painted a grim picture. The sweet spot was thriving on the surface, but Cale's family had drained its accounts. Loans, unpaid bills, and Vivian's endless demands had pushed Elara to the brink. The public humiliation at the festival was already hurting her reputation. Online reviews mentioned the scandal, and bookings were dropping. Sterling leaned back, staring at the city skyline. Elara's story was too familiar. His mother, Elise, had been a seamstress, her small shop a labor of love. When his father accused her of cheating and left, the gossip destroyed her business. She'd worked herself to exhaustion, raising Adrian alone, never recovering her spark. Elara's resilience, her talent, her quiet strength, it was like seeing his mother reborn. He picked up a photo from his desk, a faded shot of him and Elise laughing in her shop. "I couldn't save you," he murmured. "But I can help her." Clara knocked and entered, her tablet in hand. "Sir, I've got more on Elara. She's pregnant, due in 6 months. No criminal record, solid credit until recently. Cale's family, though, they're a mess. Vivian's got a history of fraud, and the sisters have racked up debt." Sterling's eyes narrowed. "And Cale? His art career's shaky. He's talented, but his sales depend on Elara's promotion. Without her, he's nothing." Sterling nodded, a plan forming. "Buy the sweet spot. Anonymously. Make sure Elara keeps full control, but clear her debts. And get that lawyer on retainer. She'll need it." Clara raised an eyebrow. "You're getting involved, sir. That's unusual." He met her gaze, his voice firm. "Some things are worth it, Clara. She's worth it." Elara sat in her apartment, the festival's humiliation replaying in her mind. The sweet spot's phone had been quiet all day, no new orders, just cancellations. Social media was a minefield of cruel comments. Cheating baker? Poor Cale. She'd turned off her phone, unable to stomach more. A knock at the door startled her. It was Mia, holding a stack of mail. "Brought you these. And, you okay?" Elara shook her head, tears spilling. "I don't know how to fix this, Mia. Cale's lies, the bakery, it's all falling apart." Mia hugged her. "You're stronger than this. And that baby. They're lucky to have you." The next day, a letter arrived from a law firm Elara didn't recognize. It was from an anonymous investor who'd purchased the Sweet Spots building, wiping out her debts and giving her a 6-month grace period on rent. The letter guaranteed her full ownership and creative control. Elara stared at it, disbelieving. "Who does this?" she whispered. She called the firm, but the lawyer, a calm woman named Ms. Harper, was tight-lipped. "The investor prefers anonymity, Ms. Voss. They admire your work and want to see you succeed." Elara's mind raced. Was it a customer? A friend? She didn't know, but the relief was overwhelming. She could save the bakery, keep her dream alive. She spent the day planning new recipes, a website, maybe a second location. For the first time in weeks, hope flickered. Meanwhile, Sterling watched from afar. Clara updated him, "The funds are transferred, and the lawyer's ready to help with any divorce or custody issues. Elara's already planning to rebuild." Sterling smiled faintly. "Good. Keep it quiet. She doesn't need to know it's me." "Not yet." Clara hesitated. "Why not tell her, sir? She'd be grateful." He shook his head, his eyes distant. "It's not about gratitude. It's about giving her a chance my mother never had." Elara, unaware of her silent benefactor, walked to the bakery that evening, her hand on her stomach. "We're gonna make it, little one," she said, a determined spark in her eyes. The storm wasn't over, but she was ready to fight. Elara sat at the worn kitchen table in her apartment above the sweet spot, the mysterious letter from the anonymous investor clutched in her hands. The weight of the festival's humiliation still pressed on her, but this unexpected lifeline, a cleared debt and a rent-free building, felt like a miracle. She didn't know who her benefactor was, but for the first time in weeks, she could breathe. The bakery was quiet, the scent of fresh bread lingering from the day's work. Mia had stayed late, helping Elara sort through the mess of cancelled orders. "This investor's a godsend," Mia said, stacking empty pastry boxes. "You think it's someone we know?" Elara shook her head, her brow furrowed. "No clue. Maybe a customer who loves our tarts? But who has that kind of money?" Mia grinned. "A secret admirer, maybe. Some rich guy smitten with your cupcakes." Elara laughed, the sound rusty but real. "Yeah, right. I'm just glad we've got a shot to keep going." That evening, she met with Ms. Harper, the lawyer from the letter. The woman was all business, her gray suit crisp as she laid out papers in a quiet cafe. "Your investor wants you to focus on your business, not finances," Ms. Harper said. "They've also set up a fund for legal support. If you need help with personal matters, I'm available." Elara's stomach twisted. Divorce. Custody. She hadn't let herself think that far, but Cale's betrayal at the festival had cracked something fundamental. "I don't know what to say," she murmured. "This feels too good to be true." Ms. Harper's eyes softened. "It's real, Ms. Voss. Someone believes in you. Use this chance." Across town, Adrian Sterling sat in his penthouse, a tablet open to the Sweet Spot social media. Clara, his assistant, updated him. Elara's accepted the terms. She's planning to relaunch the bakery's brand. And she's meeting with Harper about her marriage. Sterling nodded, his gaze fixed on a photo of Elara at the festival, her face radiant before Cale's cruelty. "Good. Keep monitoring. If Cale or his family try anything, I want to know." Clara hesitated. "Sir, you're going deep on this. Why not meet her? Let her know it's you." Sterling's jaw tightened. "Not yet. She needs to stand on her own first. Like my mother never could." Cale's studio was a mess, canvases strewn across the floor, paint cans tipped over. He sat on a stool, staring at a blank canvas, his phone buzzing with ignored messages. Since the festival, his world had unraveled. Word of his public accusation against Elara spread like wildfire through Willow Creek's tight-knit art community. Galleries dropped him, commissions vanished, and his social media was flooded with hate. "You reap what you sow," one comment read. Elara deserved better. He tossed his phone aside, his hands shaking. His mother, Vivian, had convinced him to make the scene at the festival, whispering that Elara was holding him back, that the baby wasn't his. Now, he wasn't so sure. Doubt gnawed at him, but pride kept him from admitting it. The door burst open, and Vivian stormed in, her face pinched. "Kale, you need to fix this. My credit card was declined today." "Declined? You said Elara's bakery money would keep us going." Kale's voice was flat. "It's not her money anymore, Ma. She's cut me off. And my art's not selling." Vivian scoffed. "Then make her take you back. Charm her. You're good at that." He shook his head, a bitter laugh escaping. "She won't even answer my calls. And after what I said, I don't know if I can face her." Lila and Nora barged in, their voices shrill. "You screwed us, Kale." Lila snapped. "We were counting on you. Now we're broke." "Enough," Kale shouted, standing. "You pushed me to do it. You made me think." "Don't blame us," Vivian cut in, her eyes cold. "You're weak, Kale. Always have been." He sank back onto the stool, his head in his hands. The truth was sinking in. His family had used him, and he'd let them destroy his marriage, his reputation, everything. But apologizing to Elara felt impossible. He'd burned that bridge in front of the whole town. Vivian, Lila, and Nora sat in their gaudy living room, surrounded by designer bags and unpaid bills. The family's facade of wealth was crumbling. Vivian's shady real estate deals had caught up with her. A local paper ran a story about her unpaid loans, and creditors were circling. Lila's influencer career tanked after she was caught faking sponsorships, and Nora's business ventures were little more than scams. "We need a plan," Vivian said, pacing. "Elara's bakery is still making money. We can sue her, claim Kale's entitled to half." Lila smirked, scrolling her phone. "Or we leak more dirt. Say she's been cheating for years." Nora nodded. "Yeah, keep the pressure on. She'll crack." But their schemes hit a wall. The local news shifted focus to their own misdeeds. An anonymous tip, sent by Clara, on Sterling's orders, exposed Vivian's fraud, complete with documents. Social media turned vicious, hashtags like #VivianTheVulture trending. Restaurants banned them, and old friends ghosted. "We're ruined," Vivian wailed one night, tossing a wine glass at the wall. "This is Elara's fault." "It's your fault," Lila snapped. "You pushed Kale too far. Now we've got nothing." Nora glared. "We should have taken her money and run." Their bickering echoed into the night, but the truth was clear. Their greed had backfired, and the town had turned against them. They were alone, their empire of lies collapsing. Elara stood in the Sweet Spot's kitchen, rolling out dough for a new recipe, a rosewater pistachio tart. The bakery was buzzing again, thanks to the anonymous investors' funds. She'd hired 2 new bakers, launched an online store, and planned a second location in a nearby town. Customers were trickling back, drawn by her resilience and new creations. Mia burst in, waving her phone. "Elara, look. Your tarts are going viral on Instagram." Elara peeked at the screen, her eyes widening. A food blogger had posted her tart, calling it a masterpiece from Willow Creek's comeback queen. Comments poured in, "Love her story." "Screw that jerk Kale." Elara's cheeks flushed. "This is, wow. I didn't expect this." "You're a rock star," Mia said, hugging her. "The whole town's rooting for you." That afternoon, a delivery arrived, a sleek laptop and a note, "For your online empire. Keep shining. Your investor." Elara's heart swelled. She still didn't know who they were, but their belief in her fueled her fire. She worked late, sketching plans for a baking class to teach single moms her recipes. The idea felt right, a way to give back. As she locked up, she touched her growing belly. "We're building something big, little one," she said, smiling. Across town, Sterling watched her progress on his tablet, a rare smile on his face. "She's unstoppable," he told Clara. "Just like I knew she'd be." Kale showed up at the Sweet Spot one rainy evening, his jacket soaked, his eyes hollow. Elara was closing up, her apron dusted with flour. She froze when she saw him, her heart pounding with a mix of anger and pain. "Elara, I need to talk," he said, his voice low. "I'm sorry. I was wrong." She crossed her arms, her voice steady despite the ache. "Wrong about what, Kale? Accusing me of cheating in front of the whole town?" Or abandoning me and our baby. He flinched. I let my family get in my head. I didn't mean it. Didn't mean it. Her voice rose, sharp. You humiliated me. You broke us. Cale stepped closer, desperation in his eyes. I can make it right. We can be a family. Elara's hand went to her belly, protective. I had a DNA test done, Cale. The baby's yours. You knew that, deep down, didn't you? But you chose to believe your mother's lies. His face crumpled, guilt washing over him. I'm sorry, Elara. Please. No, she cut him off. I'm done. I'm building a life for me and my child. You don't get to waltz back in. She handed him divorce papers, prepared by Ms. Harper. Sign these. And stay away. Cale stared at the papers, then at her, his voice breaking. I loved you, Elara. You didn't know how, she said, turning away. Goodbye, Cale. As he left, Elara felt a weight lift. She was free, not just from Cale, but from the fear that had held her back. She didn't know it, but Sterling's quiet support had given her the strength to reclaim her life. Elara stood behind the counter of the sweet spot, now bustling with customers. Months had passed since Cale's departure, and the bakery was thriving, its new online store shipping pastries nationwide. Her baby bump was prominent now, a quiet reminder of the future she was building. The anonymous investor's support had been a lifeline, but the mystery of their identity gnawed at her. One crisp morning, a sleek black car parked outside the bakery. A man stepped out, tall, silver-streaked hair, dressed in a simple jacket that belied his wealth. Elara didn't recognize him, but his presence drew curious glances from customers. He approached the counter, his blue eyes kind but intense. Ms. Voss, he said, his voice calm. I'm Adrian Sterling. I'd like to speak with you privately. Elara's heart skipped. The name sounded vaguely familiar, like a headline she'd skimmed. Sure. Mia, can you handle things? In the bakery's tiny office, Sterling sat across from her, his hands clasped. I'm the one who bought your building and cleared your debts, he said plainly. I've been following your work for a while. Your resilience, it moved me. Elara's mouth fell open. You're the investor? Why? Why me? Sterling's gaze softened, a shadow of pain crossing his face. Your story reminds me of my mother's. She was betrayed, humiliated, left to raise me alone. I saw you at the festival, facing that cruelty. I couldn't stand by. Tears pricked Elara's eyes. I don't know what to say, Mr. Sterling. You saved my business, my life. Call me Adrian, he said with a small smile. And you saved yourself. I just gave you room to breathe. They talked for hours, about her plans, her baby, her dreams. Sterling offered to mentor her, sharing business insights from his tech empire. You're building something special, Elara, he said. Keep going. As he left, Elara felt overwhelmed with gratitude. She touched her belly, whispering, We've got a guardian angel, little one. Spring arrived, and with it, Elara's son, Luca. His birth was a quiet miracle in a hospital room filled with sunlight. Elara held him, his tiny fingers curling around hers, and felt a love so fierce it erased the pain of the past. You're my everything, she whispered, kissing his forehead. The sweet spot became a beacon of hope in Willow Creek. Elara's story, her betrayal, her comeback, spread through blogs and local news. Customers flocked to support her, and her baking classes for single moms were a hit. She named the program Rise Up, a nod to her own journey. Adrian Sterling visited often, always discreet, bringing toys for Luca and advice for Elara. One afternoon, as they sipped coffee in the bakery's garden, he said, You're doing what my mother couldn't. You're giving others a chance. Elara smiled, bouncing Luca on her knee. I had help, Adrian. I want to pay it forward. He nodded, pride in his eyes. You already are. That evening, Mia helped Elara hang a new sign in the bakery, the sweet spot, where dreams rise. Customers cheered, and Elara felt a surge of purpose. She wasn't just a baker anymore, she was a symbol of resilience, proof that broken hearts could mend stronger. Cale's life was a shadow of what it had been. His studio was gone, repossessed after missed rent payments. He worked odd jobs, bartending, delivery, his art forgotten. Willow Creek shunned him, the festival scandal a stain he couldn't wash out. Social media was merciless, with hashtags like #KaleTheLiar still circulating. Vivian, Lila, and Nora fared no better. Their fraud and debts were exposed, their names synonymous with greed. Vivian tried to spin the narrative, posting rants online, but the town had moved on. They were outcasts, their lavish lifestyle reduced to a cramped apartment and constant bickering. One night, Kale saw Elara on a local news segment, radiant as she cut the ribbon for the sweet spot's second location. The reporter praised her strength, her business, her motherhood. Kale's chest ached with regret. He tried to reach out once more, sending a letter begging forgiveness, but Elara's lawyer returned it unopened. At a bar, he overheard customers talking about Elara. "She's a hero," one said. "That ex of hers. Total loser." Kale downed his drink, the words burning. He'd lost everything, his wife, his child, his art, because he'd let his family poison him. Alone in his dingy apartment, he stared at an old sketch of Elara, her smile haunting him. "I'm sorry," he whispered, "but it was too late." Elara's empire grew. The Sweet Spot's second location was a hit, and her online store shipped to every state. She expanded Rise Up, offering scholarships for single moms to learn baking and business skills. The program's first graduates opened their own shops, crediting Elara's mentorship. Adrian Sterling became a quiet partner, funding Rise Up's expansion without seeking credit. At a charity gala for the program, Elara took the stage, Luca in her arms. "This is for every woman who's been knocked down," she said, her voice steady. "We rise together." The crowd erupted, and Adrian, in the back, clapped softly, his eyes misty. Later, he pulled her aside. "My mother would have loved you," he said. "You're building the legacy she deserved." Elara hugged him, tears falling. "Thank you, Adrian. For everything." Back at the bakery, Elara framed a photo of her and Luca next to the one of her and her mother. The Sweet Spot wasn't just a business, it was a testament to love, resilience, and second chances. She taught Luca to mix batter, laughing as he smeared flour on his nose. "You're gonna be a baker, kiddo," she teased. Years later, Elara stood in the original Sweet Spot, now a flagship for her nationwide chain. Luca, now 5, ran through the bakery, giggling as Mia chased him with a frosting-covered spoon. The shelves sparkled with awards, Best Bakery, Entrepreneur of the Year, and photos of Elara with Rise Up graduates lined the walls. Adrian remained her mentor and friend, visiting for Luca's birthdays and bakery anniversaries. He'd never asked for recognition, but Elara dedicated a new pastry to him, the Sterling Swirl, a cinnamon roll with a hint of hope. "For the man who believed in me," she said at its launch, winking at him. Kale and his family faded into obscurity, their names a cautionary tale in Willow Creek. Elara rarely thought of them, her heart full with Luca and her work. The festival scandal, once a wound, was now a badge of survival. One evening, as she closed the bakery, a young woman approached, nervous. "I'm a single mom," she said. "I heard about Rise Up. Can you help me start over?" Elara smiled, handing her a flyer. "You're in the right place. Let's rise together." As the woman left, Elara looked out at the glowing sign of the Sweet Spot. Her mother's laughter echoed in her memory, blending with Luca's giggles. She'd turned pain into purpose, betrayal into triumph, with a stranger's kindness lighting the way. This was her sweetest victory, a life rebuilt, a legacy born, and a future as bright as her dreams. The end.